Hello, happy Wednesday, and welcome to What a Word Wednesday. Today I would like to talk briefly about an analogy, a metaphor, a comparison, a simile. I'm not really sure what category it falls under, but here it goes. Okay, for those of us who know the story of Noah and the ark, it starts off in Genesis, the 5th chapter, and goes to the 6th chapter, where it talks about how Noah built this ark based on God's instructions. And the people of the time are like, man, what are you doing? You're crazy. It's never rained here before. What are you even talking about? But Noah heeded God's voice. He built the ark and then followed his instructions of putting his family on there, his sons, their wives, his wife, the animals, 2 by 2, all of those various things, right? And then it rained. I want to say, was it for 150 days? It rained, or they were on the ark for a total of 150 days, excuse me. And so after it stopped raining, they couldn't just get off the ark. They had to check to see if the earth was inhabitable again. So he sent out a raven. He sent out a dove. The raven came back. The dove came back with like a little twig, right? And then when he sent out the dove again, she didn't come back. And so that was the sign, right? To even wait. It signified coming to the end of being on the ark. And he waited again for God's instructions, and then do you say disembarked? Is that what you do when you get off of a cruise ship? They got off of the ark. But think about that. With those steps, he didn't just say, okay, it stopped raining, so let's get off. There was a whole process to that, right? To make sure that he was safe, his loved ones were safe, the animals were safe. So that when it was time to get off the ark, the earth would be replenished in a healthy way, right? And multiplied. They would be fruitful and multiply. Well, I want to compare that to wearing the masks and or not wearing the masks. A lot of us are wearing them. A lot of us aren't wearing them. A lot of us are tired of wearing them. A lot of us stopped wearing them or started. We're in different spaces with it, right? But the heart of it is, if wearing the mask is what protects not only myself, but protects other people, let's connect and do that, right? Because it's a greater scene involved. It's a greater connection involved. Even though we're not hearing about the coronavirus cases increasing, because the CDC, by law, is not really having to report. No, it's not. Hospitals, are not having to report numbers as we were initially, or as they were initially. So we're not really sure where things are, but what we do know is people are still dying. Americans are still dying. Loved ones are still dying. So the question is, what are we going to do about it? Are we going to continue to act like we're going to turn a blind eye and it's not like it's going to go away? I know we're frustrated, but a lot of us don't understand delayed gratification. Sure, we want to go on about our lives, right? Before the pandemic started, I had a whole plan during the summer to travel and do different things. We all had plans, right? A lot of things have changed. However, we can temporarily accept and deal with those changes for the long term. But a lot of us are so selfish and self-centered, we don't want to do that. And I just don't process and understand it. If we were to treat others the way that we want to be treated, I think that we could come at this from a different and a better standpoint. I don't care what people are saying in the news. I don't care what people are saying in the media. People can say whatever they want to say, right? But we all have common sense. Like, God bless us with the brain. So my question and my thought process is, why are we not researching and finding out information for ourselves? Why are we just relying on mistruths, lies, jaded content, right? Why are we doing that? And so I wanted to make the comparison. So just like Noah took his steps and stages before they got off the ark, we should also consider taking our steps and stages before we just stop wearing masks, before we just stop socially distancing, before we stop quarantining, and even after the cases slow down, y'all, we should still be mindful, right? We should still be mindful. I remember Governor Edwards said that even after the coronavirus ends, we may still potentially, based on medical expertise, still wear masks up to, I think he said 2 years. But, let's stop being selfish, you guys, because that's really it. I think about it. We got some major first world problems over here in America, okay? We do. And what we're seeing is, though, that this coronavirus is no respect of persons. It's not. I remember I shared that with my students some years ago to show them how we are connected. It was because it was an election when President Obama was running for the first time, and a lot of stuff was coming out, like, all these ugly, horrible things that we had brushed under the rug in America were coming to the forefront, right? And I said, because I talked with them about my thought process and considering the candidates. And I remember I shared with them how I came to vote for my person. And I told them that I was going to, after the election was over, I was going to finally share who I voted for and why. But leading up to that, I modeled behavior of researching and asking questions and figuring things out, right? So I could pick the candidate that best represented me and the future of what I hoped for, right? And I remember I had a student under his breath, he said, I bet she voted for Obama because he's black. And it's like, I use it as a teaching point. And I use that to say, does character have a race? Does intelligence have a race? Does being kind have a race? Does compassion have a race? No, it doesn't. Anybody could be that. So, we learned that in that moment, that no matter what a person's shell is, right, it is important. However, it is not a guiding point in saying, well, I'm only voting for this person because of that. Well, now, if a person chooses to do that, that's their prerogative too, right? But I use that as a teaching moment with my student to say, no, I considered more than that. I considered more beyond that. Now, was I excited to see a black man running for president of the United States of America? Was I excited to see the potential factor or the potential result that we could have a black woman as a first lady? Yes, I was excited about that. Who wouldn't be? Because self-representation is important. And anybody who says that it's not is not telling the truth. But again, that question came from, he posed that question based on his framework of his level of understanding. So we have to be open to people and understanding we all come from different backgrounds, right? And we can respectfully listen to what people's backgrounds are or reasons are and consider them as well. We kind of have a problem in this world today with social media that we say what we say and we get mad at people for not agreeing with it. What? We all have a right to not only freedom of speech, right, but the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, which is why we're moving forward with these uprisings, which is why we're moving forward with voting, which is why all these things are coming to a head in America, because we've been ignoring it. We can't ignore it anymore, right? Can't ignore it. And so, connecting the factor. Let's get out of our own way for a minute. Let's think about more than just ourselves on a collective sense, right? Like more of us. Let's do that. Because if we are supposed to be the land of the free, the home of the brave, if we are supposed to be these things, we need to consider other people and not just ourselves, right? Like the right to free speech doesn't mean I should drag my brother or sister. Doesn't mean I should speak ill against somebody. Doesn't mean I should kill them with my words. What's the point of that? Because really that says more about me than who I'm talking about, who I'm addressing. And then another thing I think we should consider is sometimes when people are being ugly, rude, or mean, we can ask the question, maybe not of them, but I do a lot of reflection where it's like, well, why is that person acting like that? Is there something I can offer and say or do to encourage them, like push past that, But y'all, I just really want us to come together, right? Be honest, right? And then be who we say that we are. If we are saying that we are trusting in God, if we are saying that this country is founded on Christian principles or the Word of God, it's not just the context of how we want to use it. It's holistically. Because if God is no respect of persons, we shouldn't be either. So yes, even though the United States Constitution was written by white men, even though the initial Congresses were white men, even though Congress now is primarily, white men, we are in a new phase, in a new world, and we can frame that in a constructive way. We've been in this space. Now, at this point, I think we're finally saying, you know what, it's got to be what it is. And we're going to work towards that. We've been reinvigorated and we're doing that. So y'all, be encouraged. Let's press forward. Let's lock arms and let's be empowered, right? Take moments to step away to unplug and recharge, but we're back in it, right? We can do this, okay? So y'all, please take care, stay well, and be safe.